NRATV with Grant Stinchfield.
Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. The media is so devious. Every day, their bias against President Trump and his supporters is exposed. It turns out President Obama used tear gas on so-called migrants storming our borders, not just once either, but dozens of times. And go figure, the major networks failed to mention that minor detail, just as they failed to mention the Obama administration was separating illegal alien families too. All of it is just more lies by omission, and it's all part of an orchestrated scheme to criticize anything the president's administration does. Here is what our friends over at the Media Research Center found by looking at Department of Homeland Security data. During the Obama administration, tear gas was used on the border 26 times in 2012, 27 times in 2013, 15 times in 2014, 8 times in 2015, 3 times in 2016. That compares to Donald Trump's administration, 2017, they used it, and 29 times in 2018. All right. Additionally, during the Obama administration, ICE agents used pepper spray 441 times between 2012 and 2016. We could also say, by looking at these statistics, that during the Trump administration, ICE agents are using pepper spray at a rate of about half as what they used during the Obama administration's last term. But the media will never read a statistic like that. They're about anti-Trump sensationalism, and they will twist any story they can to get it. Well, some of the ladies on The View showed us once again they are literally anyone can get a job on TV as long as they bash the current president. While Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin took turns attacking Trump for what he's doing on the border, I want you to listen to a story that one of the other hosts tells that happened during the Obama administration. Sunny's response shows you everything you need to know about the left. They don't care about people at the border. They care about attacking Trump.
HHS allegedly placed a number of unaccompanied children in the hands of a ring of human traffickers who forced them to work on egg farms in and around Ohio, leading to a federal criminal indictment. And according to the indictment, the minor victims were forced to work 6-7 hours a week, 12 hours per day. These are things that we don't talk about. Well, the challenges
can last I checked, President Obama is no longer in office.
Exactly.
President Trump is in office, and
he's destroying the country.
And he's destroying the country. And so this whole, but Obama did it. But Obama did it. I don't care what Obama did. I don't care what Trump is doing right here, right now.
No, of course she doesn't care what Barack Obama did. In fact, she encouraged everything he did and egged it on. That's what they all did. This is the bottom line, by the way. They're not looking at the past. They're looking at Donald Trump. They don't care if the same things were done or not. This is not about humanity and feeling sorry for people on the border trying to get here. This is about politics and Trump derangement syndrome and trying to do everything they can to bring him down. Well, joining me now is managing editor for the Media Research Center, Brittany Hughes. Brittany, it was an interesting study that you guys came up with.
It is. And look, this is not anything new. We saw it just a few months ago when everybody was freaking out over on the left about, how Trump was separating kids at the border and he's locking kids in cages. And of course, it turns out, as we knew all along, because we've been covering immigration for many years, including the Obama years, he was using the same exact facilities that the Obama administration used, that the Bush administration used. These were not new facilities. As a matter of fact, they need more money so they can update some of them. But of course, Democrats in Congress are trying to slash immigration enforcement funding. And this family separation policy was exactly the same before, too, because it tries to discourage human trafficking, sex trafficking, and the ability of people to kidnap children, haul them across the border, and use them as a free ticket in. This is not a new policy, and neither is the policy of using tear gas at the border. Look, I was down at the border in 2014 covering it firsthand under the Obama administration, and part of the reason why this whole thing just really irks me to no end these days is because we were standing there on the border 4.5 years ago screaming that the conditions were bad, screaming that our border needed to be locked down so that we don't continue to have these kinds of problems. And nobody in the liberal media picked up that story at all. It was completely buried. Well, now that the same exact things are happening at even lesser rates, in fact, under the Trump administration, now all of a sudden they're concerned. Now all of a sudden it's a humanitarian crisis. And my question is, where were you 4, 5, 6 years ago when this same exact thing was happening? We were talking about it. Other conservative outlets were talking about it, but nobody on the left wanted to touch it because Barack Obama was in office. That's all this is a political ploy. They do not care about these children. They do not care about these families. They haven't come up with the first solution as to what should be done to solve this on a permanent basis. All they care about is politicizing this and politicizing these families and these children as weapons against the Trump administration. And we're going to continue to see it again and again.
Donald Trump could come up with anything, and they would disagree with him and say he's wrong. You know, you look at Saudi Arabia, and now they want us to go to war with Saudi Arabia. If it was Barack Obama, they'd be calling for make sure we have restraint, and I'm sure he's the greatest guy on earth. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just they want the opposite of what Donald Trump is doing to try to cause negativity towards him. One of the people who still stokes these flames of divisiveness, and they do it through racism, is Barack Obama. And I want to play a soundbite from him the other day talking about this. Now, he does it very quietly, and it's under the radar how he talks about racism. But what this is all designed to send his supporters and Democratic supporters into a frenzy that you and I, Brittany, and along with the president, are evil, racist people. So here, take a listen.
You start getting politics that's based on that person's not like me, and it must be their fault. And you start getting a politics based on a nationalism that's not pride in country, but hatred for somebody on the other side of the border.
Now, Brittany, I know you'll back me up. I do not hate anyone from Central America, South America, from Mexico. I do not hate people because of their religion or their colors. All I'm asking is that you come in legally. Let us know that you want to come in, not storm the border and come through. I'm all for legal immigration. I'm just against illegal immigration. But what does he do? He pushes this whole thing about nationalism and President Trump, that he doesn't have pride in this country. Barack Obama went on an apology tour for 8 years. Talk about no pride in the country. What's your thoughts on his comments?
Well, my first thought is that's a real slap in the face to all the minorities, including Hispanics, who do support Trump and who did vote for him and his policies. The other thing I have to say about that is, look, you notice how whenever somebody like Obama or any other liberal talks about things like this, it's always in these vague generalities. They can't point to specific incidents or data that backs up these claims. It's kind of this broad brush stroke of, well, they're all just a bunch of racists and they hate people who don't look like them, right? And that's where the discussion for them ends, because they just expect you to take that on face value. Look, America continues to have, under Donald Trump, as before, the most generous immigration policy in the entire world. And one thing that people don't realize, that I just keep trying to hammer home whenever I get into a discussion with someone about this, is that illegal immigration is actually more likely to hurt immigrant communities than anybody else. When you allow people into the country where you don't know their history, you don't know where they're from, you don't know their criminal background, they could be a great person, they could be a dangerous person. The whole point of a legal immigration system is to sort out who's who so that you know who you're letting in. It's not to keep people out based on the color of their skin. It's to make sure that you know who's in your country. When criminal aliens come into this country, they often settle, as most immigrants do, in immigrant communities where other immigrants, including legal ones, are their primary victims. The primary victims of criminal illegal alien activity are other immigrants. And so you're actually saying that you don't want to protect immigrant communities if you say that you want this open border policy where anybody can get in. And by the way, you're not protecting children with a policy like that either. You're encouraging a system that allows trafficking, allows people to come in with kids that are not theirs but say that they are. We just saw it just this past April. A man named Ramon Pedro came through the southwest U.S. border with an underage girl that he claimed was his daughter. Of course, that was about the time that liberals were losing their minds and saying we shouldn't separate people at the border, so they let them in. By the time July came around, they showed up for tuberculosis screening at a Fresno hospital, and it turns out that this young woman was not this guy's daughter at all, but was his sex abuse victim, and he had been abusing her for months. How are you protecting children and protecting immigrants with a policy like that? They can't answer that question. All they can do is slam this administration no matter what he does.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely true. And that is their main goal, is simply to slam the administration and, of course, anyone who supports it. And that is part of the quest, to just try to destroy this country. And that is what they're out to do. I firmly believe it. Brittany Hughes, as always, thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
That's going to do it for us today, folks. Please catch Dan Bongino coming up later this afternoon, Dana Lash, and of course, in the immediate future, we have Cam Edwards coming up. Cam and Company is here. Stick around. I'm Grant Stinchfield. I'll see you here 9 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow morning.
You're watching NRATV with Grant Stinchfield.